Welcome to another episode of Hair Loss Unfiltered. Today we are with Marylin Dodds. I am so excited about our time together today. Marylin Dodds is a cancer survivor. Unfortunately, when she went through her chemotherapy sessions, she did not recover her hair. This is not isolated to just Marylin, it happens to women out there. Our goal today is to really support all of the women that are out there that we find don't really have a lot of support. Hair loss is quite traumatic for women. It is things that I feel are not spoken about enough. I find that there isn't a lot of support for women that are going through it, whether it's because on the home front, family members really just don't understand the importance of a woman's hair and how much of a difference it makes for how we feel on a day-to-day basis. The purpose of this podcast is because you might not have the opportunity of actually meeting Marylin face to face. And it was my idea on trying to find a way that we can support you guys dealing with hair loss in the comfort of your own home and feeling like you're not alone. Because in a world facing all of these issues, dealing with hair loss, you're probably feeling alone. So Marylin, let's go. Let's talk about this. Tell us more about your journey through hair loss.
Okay, I'd be glad to. First of all, I think it's important for everybody to know when you said you are not alone, they are not alone. And I'm not just here to talk to you and to listen to what they have to say or to tell my story, but to let you know I'm living it. This is not something I'm researching and doing. I'm living it. And I've lived it for over 30 years now. And mine started because of the cancer and, of course, going through the treatment. But I am a cancer survivor, which is number one big thing. But through that, I had alopecia. If you remember, Yvonne, that was my second thing that my body was battling. Well, with the cancer and what I went through, my alopecia just absolutely took over. And it said, nope, I don't think you're going to have hair anymore. And that's how it started with me. So women going through, I want to make sure I'm clear with that. You can go through cancer treatments, and you can have the radiation, you can have all those things, the chemo. Your hair, most of the time for everybody, comes back. You have a period of time, but most of the time it comes back. But there's so many other aspects of hair loss with the alopecia, all the other skin disease in the head. These things are not talked about. This is permanent hair loss. And that is so important to have somebody that understands what it feels like for you to have lost this part of you, which you were born with, part of your being, and who you are, and it was taken away through no fault of your own. How do you deal with that? And that is what I had to overcome. And it took me a while. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, easy peasy, you can do that just like that. No, but you need to have someone to talk to and someone that understands, someone who doesn't try to make you feel guilty because you feel so bad that you've lost this part of you. And because they always turn it around and it's kind of like make you feel like you're being a little bit vain. And it isn't vanity. It's you.
And because people don't understand.
They don't understand
really what's happening inside.
Correct.
Even the close family members. Even
No. They don't know how to deal with it, and they're angry that they can't help you, so they try to push this on you. But you're not your hair. So why are you letting this take over you and make you sad? And they don't understand because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to help you. And you don't know how to help yourself. So you can't even help them to get through it.
So not alone are these women like yourself out there. They're dealing with their hair loss and the trauma from that, but now there could be even as much as like tension in the home front because they're not getting the emotional support that is required. So now everything else starts kind of falling apart in all of this as well too.
It does.
And then
and you feel like you're diminished again. Once more, you're diminished because you can't be that strong person you were, or that personality for them. So it's another thing that you've lost. You've lost your strength. And that's the part that for me is so important, that women know that you can get this back. And in talking to them and letting them see, and with the magnificent, wonderful things we have in hair loss and more, there is nobody that has to live with that feeling, with their eyes down, covering themselves up, staying in the house, not going out and being themselves again, because you can bring yourself right back out there. I do it in a lot of ways, and that's what I tell them, and they can see that I do it. I change my hairstyle. I change my color. Yvonne, you've known me long enough to know. I was a redhead for a long time, if you remember, if you recall, deep, that beautiful, and I could never have been that. I was born with raven hair. So this was, it was something that I thought, I started looking at, my goodness, this has given me something. Not taken away everything, but giving me something. Giving me a chance to explore, giving me a chance to be something and someone else, and my character come out again in my personality. Now people see me, they love my hair. Everybody compliments my hair. Why? Because it's me. It's a part of me.
We're talking about going from the trauma of actually losing your hair. Let's go a little further so that, women really know that they're not alone in this. Is there's the initial trauma of losing your hair. The doctors are now saying you have alopecia. We don't know if your hair is coming back. It could, it couldn't. Likelihood is it's not. They talk about doing injections, all of this stuff. There's this trauma pocket that you're in, to what you're saying right now. Hey, there's a solution, end result. So you're at the end, but we want to also talk about this journey of how to get from the initial trauma. What was those pivotal moments for you? What were your challenges, and when did you start being able to say, I'm going to surrender and embrace this? I'm going to come out stronger, bigger, better, stronger in the end of this.
Yes, that was the difficult part. And it wasn't that I wasn't used to, being out there and doing things. That was part of what my career was. I was also, we didn't say, but I was a model, and I did commercials, and this was my livelihood. And all of a sudden, that was no longer in my future or in my present. I didn't know how to get back to it. I didn't know what to do. I mean, you have to understand that's definitely a visual, and the visual's got to be right, and whoever is going to hire you or interview or whatever. So I had to decide, oh my God, do I change my whole life now? Is my career gone? Can I go forward? I was a teacher, and I taught speech and drama to the grade school children and all. This was traumatic for children. Traumatic if you're going through that. I didn't have to do that when I was teaching. Now I was in that position. So any encounters I had in my goal of teaching, I had to worry about, oh my gosh, can I do it? Can I give to them the strength that I have inside of here? I don't feel it. And they're not going to see it. They're going to see somebody diminished in front of them. And I do have to say, Yvonne, my turning pivotal moment for me was my mother. And my mother said to me, you have done so much in your life, in your career, and you've done all the things that you desired. You studied for them, you achieved them. God gave that all to you. You were able to do it. Now something's been taken away. You still have all those gifts inside of you. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to let what life has given you through no fault of your own? You got cancer. You are not in control of everything. And this is something you could not control. Because of the cancer, it led to one thing, which led to another thing. Now, either you have a talk with yourself, you look into that mirror and you say, I am here. What do I do? Let's find help. And my mother became she was the one who was researching everything. It was through my mother that in a newspaper article in Boston, she found an article about beautiful hair being restored to women who were going through these unbelievable situations. And my mother found this article. She called the newspaper. She talked to the reporter who did it. And then my mother called me and said, okay, we have a beginning. And there's about 35 million women who suffer from hair loss. This is not a small thing.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges when these women get their time with you? They get to ask you questions, they get to connect with you.
Yes.
What is it that they're all feeling, the common thread that they're all feeling the most?
That not only are they going through the hair loss, but tremendous fear. Will I be able to keep my marriage the way it is? Because now I am different. I don't look the way I did when I walked down that aisle when we said, I do. I got that from so many women, fear of losing their mate. Then I got the women who were afraid how to help their children understand and be strong enough to go through some of these things in their life if they didn't have the strength to go through it. When my grandchildren first met me, they only knew me with no hair. They had never known me with hair because I was 51 when my first grandchildren were born. So they were there just to see me with no hair. That's how they met me. And of course they loved me, and I was active as much as I could, did all these things with them. But there was a sadness in me. There was a oh my goodness, my grandchildren will never really know me. What a silly thought that was in my head, but that was my thought in my head. And as they started to grow, 1, 2 years old, they start to have voices and be able to talk to you. My oldest grandson, one day he was at a weekend spending with me, and I had him, and we had been to the park. He was Mowgli a lot, so we went hiking and doing those things. Came home, and we were in the bathroom. I had given him a wonderful bath and was towel drying him, and he sat on my lap. And he had these big tears that started to come down his face. And I looked at him and I said, what's the matter, sweetheart? Did you hurt yourself? Or no, Nana. And I said, well, why are you crying? And he said, I really wish you had hair. And I looked at him and I said, well, Nana really wishes that too, but it looks like I'm not going to have hair. So what can we do to make it okay with you? And he said, well, Nana, the thing is, I really want to see your smile again. And all the pictures of you before, and all the things that I've seen of your life before I was born, you smiled so beautiful. I haven't seen that smile. My goodness. With
It's a
that,
pivotal change. It's a
yeah,
shift right there. It
right there.
forces you to look at it right there in the eyes and realize how much it's taking over.
Absolutely.
Now, I
Absolutely.
have a question. The fear of the marriage
Yes.
is, I understand that the women are more concerned about the physical
Right.
of whether their husbands are going to be attracted or this or that. Is this what the true breakdown potentially can happen, is the look, or is it what happens to the woman inside, that they lose themselves, they lose their happiness, they lose their self-esteem?
That is the biggest thing, Yvonne. Also, don't forget what they lost, not just the image, but this woman who had so much confidence in many different ways, not in all ways, because we're not all totally confident with everything. But their mate had seen them whole within their personality. And now all of a sudden, yes, take away that it's just a visual. Of course you have the people that are superficial, but those marriages aren't going to last anyway, whether or not you've got your hair or not. So that part was not, that's not the fear that when women spoke to me, it was that fear of not being for their mate what they once were. And I've always said this to you. How many times have we talked over and over and over again? And I tell you, Yvonne, the thing I get the most compliments on is my hair. People who don't know me, people who just see me, I'm always complimented on my hair. And I think this is the one thing, the hair that I put on my head, that is not a piece of my flesh or my hands or and yet what it makes me see is that hair is me. It has become part of who I am.
A
It is.
lot of my women will talk about when they're at the beach or wherever they're at, that people are saying, "Oh, your hair looks amazing," and
Yes.
they, they've most have embraced it at this point in time, and they turn around and say, like, you want to tell them, but you don't tell them. But how ironic is that they get so many compliments on it? But that's because they actually get to create the ideal head of hair that they
Absolutely.
would want to have, that maybe surpasses what they had before when they had their own hair
So
as well
much it
too.
does. Yes, that's a big thing, big factor. You get to pick the best hair in the world, and you get to pick your styles and your colors and your looks. And that's a gift. That's a real gift. People ask me now, because I am rising in age, and they'll say to me, "Well, do you want to be white? Do you want to have the silver hair?" I said,
No,
absolutely, positively not.
not.
I didn't want it when I had it growing in my head. I do not want it now.
We have this conversation with my women all the time. They're like, "Should I be putting gray in there?" I'm like, "No, why would we do that?"
Why?
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
So what I hear from you, and we will talk even more into this, like getting into that empowerment, getting into the
Oh, yes.
acceptance.
Okay.
But we're just kind of touching on this one topic right now, is the virtual reality studio that you went to. I'm just going to talk about a little of that real quick. We're not endorsing our products. We're not here to do
No,
any of that,
no,
but I'm going to
no.
explain something that women should probably understand. So we all know that there's wig shops that are available that you can just walk into, and they're pre-cut type of hair systems in certain specific colors. It's a fast, easy method of finding a solution, but they are machine made. They're a one size fits all for your head. It's something that you wear. And what Marylin got to, luckily for you, got to experience in this virtual reality world um, is that more elite customized product where it's a super thin skin base so that it actually melds to be part of you. It's not something that you wear, but literally feels like a contact lens, a thin contact lens on your scalp. This is why
You
Marylin
don't
can
feel it. Yes, you
show
don't
her.
feel it on you.
Yeah, exactly. So just an understanding of how she gets that liberation, how she gets that feeling. Um, if people are watching this from our website, you'll see before and after photos where women can literally hold their hair up into a French roll, wear it into high ponytails, and be able to do all of that. But the other thing is, when we talked about you were changing your look and changing your style, is that they're not built for the durability, but for the believability factor. And because of that, that allows for women that would be in hair replacement before, that would be in a more durable type of system that might last for a couple of years. Some of the challenges that can be faced with is that it's hard for them to change their look, change their color, because they're so accustomed to looking exactly the same all the time. And they don't want to expose themselves by, when they order one, a year and a half later, that they can't do the highlight, low light, change their look easily. And that still just has another little grip on you. However, by doing this type of technology that you're in, you are replacing them a little bit more frequently, and that allows you to change your look seamlessly more frequently. No different than if you didn't lose your hair, you can just go to your stylist and say, hey, let's throw some highlights in, let's change my cut to be a little bit longer, or this or this or this. So there's a lot of freedom for women in this world where, if the wind comes by and pushes us back, you don't see any transition lines. You can change your look, you can change your style. I just wanted to explain the difference between that and your typical wig shop wig. However, this technology can be done very, very quickly if you find the right type of a clinic that offers this type of technology. It's not that you're walking in and walking out with something that same day, but it might take a couple of weeks to get your exact color to match to the specifications of your hair.
And in the beginning, Yvonne, back in those very beginning days when we were together, I loved having that hair on me and staying there. And I learned to wash it and style it. And of course, I was blessed. I have a son who's a hairstylist. So he would do some magic styles with me when I had my hair on. And I loved that. That was very important. As I got older, and of course, like I say, 30 years. So I've been in this a long time. I got more and more that I wanted to change my look and my style. There were so many things I had no control over that I wanted to have control over. So that's what I did. I started where I would take it off and have 2 or 3 styles and decide what I was going to be that day, depending where I was going and what I was doing. And so it's such a wonderful thing to have that choice. And it depends on what phase of your life you're in, is what I have found through these 30 years, that how I deal with and the joy of it. When I think of my hair now, I never think sad. I think joy, because it has brought so much joy and confidence back into my world, like I always had. And I thought, what if my own hair had thinned really bad or was an awful texture? What could I do? I'd have to keep that hair on my head because, I was born with it. Now I have this flexibility, and I think, see, that's a big plus. And whenever I talk to any of the women, I get calls from women who have come to my seminars and who have met me. And they'll call me and say, how are you doing, Marylin? And I ask how their lives are. And that's the one thing we laugh about, is that how cocky we are about our hair. And I said, isn't it a wonderful thing? I just feel so cocky about it. I truly do. Because I don't think there's anybody that will have hair that's better than mine. And it's just this wonderful feel. It's another empowerment.
It's like the polar opposite of how you start in this journey to becoming, cocky and
right.
But does it actually go away, those feelings inside, for the women that are going through this right now at the beginning stages that are still in trauma? Does that ever go away, or do you accept the trauma and just find your shining light through it. Let's talk about how do we go from point A to point
Absolutely.
Z,
You
point
have
Z,
it.
because it's a journey.
Feeling. It's a journey. And you have that feeling inside of you, and it's there, and it is. You have to accept it. That's what you have to do, because you can't say that it never happened, because it did. And here you are. You have to deal with the emotion, going through it, that step A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up, but it's always there. There's times to this day when it's just me, myself, and I stand in front of the mirror, and I've removed my hair because I'm changing my look, and I have to stop in awe. Sometimes I find that I stand there maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it's almost like reliving from my beginning to where I am now. And it still baffles me that there I am, this woman, totally bald, standing there looking back at yourself in the, this really happened to me. It's almost like it's a hard to describe what the feeling is wow, I really did this. I really did this. And it still affects me to see myself standing bald in front of that mirror. It affects me. That never goes away. That's part of who you are too. Yes.
The passion for me in everything that I do is actually understanding at a much more deeper level and a soulful level of the trauma that women do get through. And it sounds kind of strange, but I do spend time of really putting myself into the shoes of a woman that's going through hair loss. When I look in the mirror, I imagine what would it be like for me if my hair were to be gone tomorrow. And I just don't know what I would do with that. I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of hair. It's my essence.
Well, it's your crowning glory. I mean, I think of you, and I've always thought of that beautiful hair. And you see what I mean? That's what women go through who lose that. So you know what your hair brings to you, and the confidence and all. Imagine, like you said, tomorrow it being gone. What would you do? How would you feel?
You bring this forward in just also making us realize that hair is our essence of who we are. You talk about this a lot with women. I've heard you talk about it.
Yes.
And nobody, like, if I had a sister going through this, if I wasn't in the industry, if I was just disconnected, I'd be like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And say those things. But you really don't get it until you imagine, close your eyes and imagine what if your hair was to be gone tomorrow. And even with my team at my office, I make them sit in a chair, close their eyes, and imagine what this is for them to just even get it, so that they understand the emotions that we are when women are coming into our office. And so just from years of doing this, I realized that women go to the doctors, they don't get anything from their doctors.
And you know why? I have to say this honestly, for the doc, in defense of them, they are so focused on the physical part of what's causing sicknesses and illnesses and all. For them to dig deep into the emotional and see that with them, it's almost like something they'd have to go to school and learn again, because they're so into the scientific, technical end of saving a life, a body, a person, and finding, to go into that. If they had to do that, it's so emotional for them anyway. Doctors lose patients so many times, and people that they are caring for and all. They're dealing with a whole set of emotions that it's hard for people to understand, because they deal with it every single day. The lives of these people come into their hands. So for them to have the ability to sit and emotionally uplift a woman going through this horrible thing, or what. I can't see it happening.
It's the wrong person, and I'm
Yes,
glad that we opened up this door as well too, because I was also very close with a dermatologist who specializes in hair loss,
right.
and I would always say to him, like, you have me all these women that come into my office and they're crying and they're mortified and devastated, and he would say, my job is to try endlessly of how to get them to get their hair back.
Right.
But where I would interject into something regarding this is professionals are drawn to certain industries about the way that their brain works, and not everybody is suited to open up and do heart surgery. I would faint.
Thank
I
you.
faint at the sight of blood. Okay, it's
Yes,
not where I'm at, but I'm
yeah.
a feeler, and I want to help people, and so like you
You
can't.
go into the mind and into, yes.
Doctors are here for, here's the problem and here's what the solutions could possibly be in working with these types of things, but they are not in the mindset of dealing with, in fact, a lot of doctors tell me that they're actually not really people. Their brain is about calculating and like the
All of that.
analytical brain, right?
Well,
They're not, my
don't
vet would
forget,
say,
yeah, they're dealing with a different loss. They're dealing with the fact they've got to keep that body alive and that
right.
person alive. It's
And
a
that
different, yes.
their brain doesn't work in that sense of that, and that's not even their job, in their job role, right?
Mhm.
And so it would be interesting when I first would, I'd be calling up my doctor friend, we'd be having dinner, like, you had with this lady, and you said you're losing your hair, you're not going to get your hair back, deal with it, right? And I go, can we do this a different way, right? And at the end of the day, he goes, I don't,
Right.
it's not what I do. This isn't what I do. So at the end of the day, what I realized that this is where I could be making the difference on this time. So for me, I set aside like an hour and a half when a woman is walking into the
So
door,
good.
and we have Kleenex in the room.
Well,
We're
that's what I'm
expecting women
saying.
to
Yeah.
share what's going on for them, and it's just there for women that when they're feeling that they don't have their husband's support, nobody understands, and the biggest one is leading into when you are a woman going through hair loss. Where do you see other women going through the hair loss? The one common thread that I hear often is this feeling like they're all alone. They don't see, like, men see other men on the streets constantly all day every day losing their hair, that they are like, oh, he's losing his hair, I'm losing my hair, whatever, it's all around them.